G'day there guys, the only thing I'm growing this spring is older and more irritable. And on that note, it's Markee, welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. If you enjoyed today's content, tell me what you think about it down below, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Posted by user Dictionary Candy, titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my friend's dog back unless she pays me for it? Characters are me, my friend, Camu's owner, Cindy, and the dog, Camu. Background. A year ago, my 30 female friend, 30 female, was going to Europe for a couple of weeks on a vacation. She asked me to dog sit her dog, Camu, who I adored, so I said I would do it for free. However, at the end of the 2 weeks, she called me telling me that she was staying in Europe. She had met someone there, and she wouldn't answer any questions about when she would be back. I texted her with questions about what to do with Camu, because the food she gave me was almost out. I didn't get a reply. The story. Last week, Cindy came back and said she wanted Camu back. Apparently her boyfriend broke up with her because she cheated, so I didn't have much sympathy. I told her no. The deal was for a couple of weeks, and it's been a year, and I feel like Camu is my dog now. We've bonded a lot, and she left for a year with no explanation, and I had gotten attached to her. She threatened to sue me, which she can because Camu is still legally hers. I told her she could have Camu back if she paid me for her. I calculated the cost of keeping her for a year, minus the 2 weeks at the beginning when I said it would be free. The cost of food, grooming, and vet bills came to about $2,500, but I've also been taking care of her. I charged her the pet sitter rates that I've seen, but on the lower ends, and it came to $10,000. I told her that she could have Camu if she gave me the $10,000. I'm not even adding the other $2,500, and now she's calling me an a-hole. Her lawyer said that they'd see me in court, and I've hired a lawyer who said I'm in the clear. But now I'm wondering if I'm being an a-hole. Camu is Cindy's dog after all, and in the beginning I did say I would pet sit for free. Reddit, am I the a-hole? I have no clue about this situation, but she's an a-hole for disappearing and not saying anything about the dog. She just straight up abandons the dog. She's basically, in my mind, she's signed over any claim that she has to this dog when she abandoned it. Now she wants it back after a year of abandoning the dog? Would we say the same about abandoning a kid? You know, like, oh, I want my kid back now that I've come back from overseas for a year. I see them being similar, but not exactly the same. But I wouldn't give a dog back if I'd owned it for a year, no way. You abandoned the poor thing. He's got a better family here that won't run away from him. So I'm gonna say not the a-hole. Edit, thanks for all the advice. I didn't know that there were laws about this. I assumed Cindy would still be the legal owner, as she never signed over the papers. Not the a-hole, that's not pet sitting. She abandoned her dog and you became its caretaker. Best of luck in court. Jumping on the top comment just to say not the a-hole, but please don't give the dog back to someone who can abandon her so easily. I can't imagine just leaving my dogs in a different country. If you've bonded with the dog, and you've been taking good care of it, like it seems, then please keep the dog. She loved her new guy more than the dog, and loved cheating on her new guy more than she loved her new guy. So by the transitive property, she loved being a dog more than she loved her dog, by enough of a margin to abandon the latter and not care about what happened to him. Cindy's not the owner of the dog any longer, she's just a dog now. Not the a-hole. I'm no lawyer, but regular people logic says she abandoned it, and you, having paid for all of its needs, have become the rightful owner. Not the a-hole, I agree, and also not a lawyer. There must be some time frame for abandonment. As OP said, the dog is legally hers. I'm not sure that's the case, and she may have given up legal ownership after such a long period of time. I believe in the US, an animal is considered legally abandoned after 2 to 8 weeks, depending on the state, of no financial support from the owner. So after a month or two, the dog was no longer considered the friends in the eyes of the law. Info. She threatened to sue me, which she can because Camu is legally still hers. Technically, if the original agreement was for 2 weeks and she ignored your entreaties for a year, then no, Camu is abandoned property. Dogs aren't children, even though it often feels that way. They are legally considered chattel, and the same law applies to them as a horse or a pig. She surrendered ownership, and then she failed to respond to your outreach, especially for a year. I would try to work this one out equitably, and if the issue is money, return Camu, then exercise your right to sue and expect to win for recompensation for the cost of caring for Camu. If you are truly bonded with Camu and the money isn't the issue, then let the court decide. But don't blackmail her. It'll distract the ultimate verdict. Good to know. Thank you. I will look into the laws regarding this for my state. Updates. Am I the a-hole for not giving my friend's dog back unless she pays me for it? Cindy's cousin is her lawyer, and he told her that it would take several months until the case would get seen, and she responded that that was way too long and I could just keep the damn dog. I believe her change of heart was somewhat motivated by the fact she's met a new boyfriend and doesn't really have time to take care of Camo anymore. But Camo is staying with me, which is all I wanted. Thank you guys so much for helping me realize that Cindy abandoned Camu and to not feel bad about keeping her. That's certainly easier than a court case. However, 1. Make sure you get documentation of the conversation, screenshots, whatever. Send an email confirming if it was verbal, just confirming that you are relinquishing Camu to me. 2. Make sure vet records are in your name. Document all your costs. And 3. Change any registrations to your name or get new ones. And congratulations, Camu is a cutie. And also, get his microchip updated. Sheesh. She sounds like someone who shouldn't get a pet at all, since she ditches them every time she finds a man. Camu sounds like he or she would be much happier and well cared for with you. I'm glad this had a happy ending. Enjoy your official new pet. Right? I can't even imagine. Our dog has been staying with my in-laws this week. Their vet is about 1/3 the cost to get her spayed because they live in a rural area. And I'm literally counting down the hours until we go get her on Saturday. Posted by user, Am I the a-hole Will? Titled, Would I be the a-hole for sucking up to my racist POS grandpa to get his inheritance? My grandpa is a jerk. He has a swastika tattoo on his right shoulder. He hates my dad because he's not good enough for my mum, he's black, and because he's a stay-at-home dad. He disowned my mum for marrying a monkey. The only member of the family he likes is me because I'm his only legitimate heir since I am white. I hate my grandpa. When I was younger and he used to visit, he would always spout some anti-black or anti-Jew or anti-Mexican propaganda. He would also loudly say how much he hated my monkey dad. However, he is a rich jerk. I don't know exactly how much money he has, but he lives like a king. Since he disowned my parents, not a cent of the money found its way to us. We are poor. He just got diagnosed with cancer, and he will die in 9 months. I want to say good riddance, and the world is a better place. However, he announced that he is writing his will, and I want to be on it. My plan is to visit him in the hospital every day until he dies. I will listen to his stupid worldviews and racist comments. I will agree with him and express my own hate. This will be a lie, of course. I will talk BS about white supremacy, etc. Then, I'll be in his will and inherit a ton of money, which will pay for my college. I'll also give some to my parents. My mum is all for it, but my dad is against it, saying that he doesn't want me to be around that POS. Tell me, Reddit, would I be the a-hole if I sucked up to my arsehat grand sperm donor to get into his will? Edit, if I get the money, I will give 25% to charities, 25% to my dad, 25% for my mum, and 25% to me to help pay for college. Edit, I have white skin, so I pass as white. I believe that is what my grand sperm donor means. Personally, I don't think you're an a-hole for doing it, and putting that money to charity is a very good idea, as well as sharing it with your parents, who it was never going to go to, and I feel like that's ridiculously unfair. Not the a-hole. Edit, I have taken your advice and talked to my dad about it more. I explained that I only wanted the money to improve our quality of life. He's not quite convinced, but he's warming up to it. especially when he found out that I'd want to find some way to donate some money to charity. I've decided that I won't suck up to my grand sperm donor without my dad's blessing, and if I get the money, we will decide how to use it as a family. I'll post an update once we decide what to do. Not the a-hole. Go for it and earn some money. Yeah, he's a piece of crap, but it's totally worth being around him every now and then for a slice of the pie. Pulling a con job on a dying racist a-hole for money is totally fair game if he's family. Go for it. Especially since OP will be giving 25% to charities. Imagine old Gramps spinning in his grave if his money makes it into the NAACP or some other charity geared towards helping minorities and or fighting discrimination. I mean, yes, you're the a-hole, but please be Machiavellian about this. Get the inheritance and don't pee it away. As a final act of revenge, donate some money to a couple of charities that help minorities in his name. Doesn't even have to be a large amount. I don't have a judgment on this, but I would be careful about your father's feelings. He's already had to put up with so much from that man that I imagine watching his son buddy up to the guy and pretend to be racist could be pretty heart-wrenching. The money isn't worth it if it hurts someone that you care about, but it's just my thoughts. This should be higher up. What a thoughtful comment. I'm all for screwing the older guy over, but in the end, the people you love are what matters most. I wish this was higher up. OP, your father is probably imagining the things you'll have to say about him or smile and nod along to about him. He's probably remembering things he's heard your grandfather say and imagining them coming out of your mouth. I want you to get that money, but I don't think you can do this without your dad's genuine blessing. Update. Would I be the a-hole for sucking up to my racist piece of crap grandpa to get his inheritance? Thank you. So I got a ton of responses from my OP. Most people said not the a-hole or you're the a-hole but justified, although I did get a few actual you're the a-holes. However, you guys also gave me some great information and advice about how to move forwards with this and keep my relationship with my father intact, most of which I used, and thanks for all of that. What I did. As suggested, the day after I made the post, I had a long talk with my dad about how much I loved him and my black heritage. I told him that I would share the money I got with both him and my mum, as they deserved it, as well as use it for uni. But I made it clear that I would not move forwards with my plan unless I had his blessing, which he gave me. As you guys suggested, I did not visit my grandpa every day, but only 1 to 2 times a week, as to not arouse suspicion. I also tried to steer any conversations I had with him away from racism, as that kind of talk could hurt those around me, such as the nurses and other patients. We instead talked about his life. And that was interesting, because I can no longer hate him. Instead, I pity him. He had a sucky life, and it isn't his fault he's a racist. That's just how he grew up. I learned other stuff about him as well, but the main thing I learned was that he wasn't just a racist, or a boomer, or an a-hole, or a rich, lonely old man. He was, insert his name here. He was a person, and a nice one at that. Aftermath. Anyways, he died 3 weeks ago. Some kind of complication with something. I was planning on skipping the funeral, but I went anyways. It felt wrong to have bonded with him so much and then miss my chance to pay my respects. My parents thought I was crazy, but they don't understand. The will reading was shorter than I expected. Just some legal mumbo-jumbo. He didn't have as much money as I thought he did. Most of it wasn't liquefied assets or something, but I got a house, a couple thousand in cash that I can't touch till I'm 25, and some valuable stocks and bonds. It won't affect my life right now, but it will give me a huge boost in the future. That's really it. I feel like these past 3 months have been a kind of journey for me. Seeing inside the head of a racist will have forever changed me and my outlook on life. I'm glad that the user Sasquatched8649 suggested that I really talk with him and try to understand him, because it did help me a lot. That's really it. Thanks for the help, Reddit. I get it. My father-in-law is racist, but through genuinely being nice to him and telling him great stories about my friends and co-workers, he's becoming more inclusive. You see, he was the only white kid on his block during the Detroit race riots. No, it doesn't justify racism, but it helps to understand why a person thinks the way that they do. I've worked with the elderly for a long time, and many of them have deep-rooted attitudes towards life. However, more often than not, they are willing to make small changes. I have seen people come in outright racist and grow to love their caregivers that are people of color. It's very hard to return hate with kindness, but it can make a world of difference. Learning why someone is racist can really change your perspective of them. It never excuses or justifies racism, but it changes how you view that person. Same with homophobic people. I recently saw a comedian who said it perfectly. Homophobia, and I like to think racism as well, is a disease. Not everyone can be quote-unquote cured, but many can. It just takes time and effort, and you need to understand that it's not going to be overnight. His example was with his dad. His dad was homophobic, the horrible, verbally hateful kind who used to harm and bully the gay kids when he was young, and who still spewed pure hate anytime you mentioned gay people. But then one day his brother confided in the comedian that he was gay and terrified to tell their dad. He pulled away and put distance between them, and the dad could tell something was wrong. Eventually he did come out to the dad, but he didn't take it too well, just kind of silently showed him out the door. Then it took a month of no contact before the dad reached out to him and told him how he did understand it. Didn't know how or why his son came to be like that, but that he loved him more than he hated the gays. I think it's been around 5 to 10 years since the brother came out, and they've slowly been getting him used to the LGBT community. They know that if they dump everything on him at once, or try to force him to accept it, that it'll just scare him off. He recently met the brother's long-term partner, and actually liked him. They're currently having discussions about transgender people, and the dad is struggling to understand it. But the point is that he's trying and getting better. Not everyone needs to do this for their parents. I completely understand that sometimes the damage they've done is 100% irreparable, or that you don't have the time and ability to be their teacher. But you should understand that for some, it's not a choice to hate who they do. It's a trauma and disease that they can't get over themselves. Posted by user Importance Superb, titled, "Would I be the a-hole for not paying for my son's art college? I, 52 male, have one son who's 17 male and one daughter, 30 female. My daughter graduated from a local university with a master's degree in business and has a small startup that has grown quite tremendously. She's engaged and is the major breadwinner in her relationship, which makes me quite proud. My son, on the other hand, he's less academically interested. Throughout high school, he wanted to take only art and music courses. I didn't allow him to, and unfortunately had to resort to the my house, my rules. However, he says now that he's going to uni, he doesn't have to listen to me, and that he'll move out with one of his friends if I try the my house, my rules crap, as he calls it. He says that he's going to an art uni, and that he's already sent out applications to several and gotten offers. So I did the only thing I could, revoking my offer of paying for his university. It breaks my heart, but I feel like I have no choice. I told my son that either he gets a degree that will enable him to have a good chance at getting a job that he can live off of, or he can find some other way to pay. My son was understandably ticked when I told him this. He called me a crappy father and stormed off to his room. Before you flood the comments with "you're the a-hole," hear out my reasoning. I did the same thing my son wants to do. I got an arts degree, against the wishes of my parents. I was young and excited, but it was not to be. Art and music weren't paying my bills, and I got into astronomical debt. Then I was evicted from my apartment, and I was homeless for a year. I had to drag myself back to my parents and beg them to pay for me to go to uni again, this time to get a business degree. I got one, graduated again, and got an office job, and worked hard until I got promotions. Then I met my late wife, and we had the kids. So you see, I just don't want my son to make the same mistakes I did. I want him to be able to hold his head high, knowing that he can pay his own way and start a family if he so pleases. I don't want to be controlling, but but he needs to put his head on straight and do what's best for him. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for this? Edit, I never explicitly said I wouldn't pay for an art major, but I've told him that his entire life that becoming an artist is a very unstable industry that relies heavily on luck and connections. I also never promised that I would pay for his school. It was always just assumed. Edit, I have tried compromising. He can have an art minor or take private classes so long as he majors in something else. He declined. You say it was never promised, it was always just assumed. I guess you haven't really communicated with this guy properly, because that would be a huge letdown also, knowing that you're going to start off at a massive disadvantage, when there never really seemed to be a problem with it before I've decided to just make this decision now. Your house, your rules with what he does in school, but why do you get to decide that now that he wants to go to university? People learn from their mistakes, and perhaps him going to university to do an arts major isn't a mistake, and you're holding him back from doing that. Just because it failed for you doesn't mean it's going to fail for him per se. You holding him back and holding this over his head is an a-hole move, so yes, you're an a-hole for doing this. You're the a-hole, you're controlling, and it sounds like you've been this way for a long time. It doesn't matter that you failed at your art career, maybe he'll succeed and maybe he'll fail. But being forced to study something that he has no interest in won't help him, and having to take on a bunch of debt to follow his dream also won't help him. You're in the process of destroying your relationship with your son just because you think your limited life experience makes you the expert on everything. I can actually pay his way nearly entirely. He'll have very little debt, if any. Yes, and a job he hates and resents you for. Or he'll defy you and go to art school anyway, making a huge debt, making his dream of succeeding as an artist even harder, and making him resent you because you could have easily paid for it. I love the end. I don't want to be controlling, but you are being very controlling. You're the a-hole. Let him pursue his passion. If he fails and didn't listen to you, then he has to pay his own way. If this is how he wants to spend his one free try, let him. And based on your wording, it sounds like you love your daughter more, and you show it. Be careful because you may lose him either way. You're the a-hole. Your experience as a failed artist is worth sharing with him, so that he can make an informed decision, and of course it's natural that you'd worry he might experience a similar path. But there are people who lose a fortune in the business world, and that didn't affect your willingness to pay for your daughter's business degree. As long as your son understands he gets one chance to spend the money you saved up for his university, if he chooses to spend it at art school, that's a valid and awesome choice. Artists rock. Update: would I be the a-hole for not paying for my son's art college? The resolution. 2 months ago, I came home to my son packing his bags. He told me he was going to go live with a friend until uni, and he was going to take out loans to pay since I wasn't going to. Despite my protesting, he left. Last week, I got a call from him, begging me to take him back. His friend's family was moving in with his friend, and they no longer had space for my son. To make matters worse, he hasn't been able to get loans. He'd been denied. He wouldn't be able to get into the uni of his choice. He told me he accepted my terms since he had no other choice. Seeing him that heartbroken crushed me. So I did something I never thought I'd ever do. I relented and offered to pay for his art school in full, no strings attached. He was jubilant. All I can say is, you were right, Reddit. Just because I failed doesn't mean he will. He could be better than I was for all I know. Maybe at his school, he'll meet people he can use as contacts, and I can try and use my clout to seek out people who can help him. I can minimize his costs by letting him stay at home for the first few years after he graduates, and if he does fail, I can just send him through school again for a different degree. Thank you, Reddit. I owe you guys. OP, a bit of advice. Have him take a few classes in something else as well. My mum has her bachelor's in arts and master's in interior design simultaneously. It's a good idea for your son to pick some design degree in addition to art as a fallback. He also may find that he enjoys whatever it is. I always recommend a business minor to go along with arts education. It can help with his eventual self-employment as an artist, or it can give him something to fall back on if he needs it. My daughter is in performing arts, and I'm hoping she continues to want a second degree in teaching. Regardless, I think the value of the networking in college, meeting those people who can mentor you and your career, is truly priceless and makes the arts degree worthwhile. This is a great idea, as basically being an artist means also running your own business. I studied graphic design in college, and I really wish even a small part of the course had been about how to work out how much to charge for a freelance job or how to set yourself up as a company. I have no interest in going out on my own. I actually far prefer being a wage slave, but I've done some freelance as well, and I've never felt confident when pricing my work. This seems like a serious oversight. Why do college degrees not give you the skills to succeed in the career field they're preparing you for? My art school had required classes for every major on the business side of things. How to price your work, advertise, taxes, etc. I left that class with an entire professional package ready. So not all art schools forget this, lol. Okay, and I think that's where we're going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something from these stories. Just want to say a quick shout out to my Patreon subscribers and my channel members. You guys should be on the screen right now. If you do see yourself, I want you to give yourself a little pat on the back for being amazing and supporting me on this channel, this little journey we're going on the YouTubes. I really appreciate it, and you guys enabled me to do all this amazing work. So if you do see yourself, I love your face and I'm happy to see you. Also guys, if you want to pitch in your own support, you don't have to, but channel links are down in the description below to support the Patreon, the channel membership, whatever you want to do. It's kind of like tipping me if you feel like I'm doing a good job on this channel. I will be opening up avenues for content on those in the future. Just right now I'm kind of bogged down and stuck in Ireland, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway guys, with that said, I do hope you have a wonderful day today. Whatever you're up to, I'd love to know down in the comments below. I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep. Whatever you're up to today, tell me, and I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.